Hi guys, Matt Lemke here with True Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and today we are taking a look at Dungeon Fantasy in this box breaking. This is my first ever look at the product. I glanced at it when it was on Kickstarter, I'll give you that, and this is a Dungeon Fantasy, I'm going to call it a starter, that is powered by GURPS. This is, actually, I have never played GURPS, so I may be a little bit out of my league here, and I do hope to use this box soon. But before we get started, it's hefty. This is one of the heaviest boxes that I have ever seen for a starter. And how much is this? I don't even remember. Probably because it was a gift. Well, probably a gift that I bought. Anyway, so we're going to bust it open. We're going to pull stuff out. And we're going to pull stuff out. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not gonna open the dice. You get your little pawn stands. Hey. And you don't get anything in here. Let's see if there's anything under here. Nope, nothing under there. So there's probably nothing under the other side. Put that back up there. Wait. Alright. So we'll take a look at the little punch outs first, because punch outs are always cool. And they tend to get in the way. So you have the demon from the stars between the stars. My gosh, I know what I'm doing here. Zombie, a corpse golem, a zombie, another zombie, some more corpse golems, huge spider. You have another spider, zombies again, a golem in armor, ooze. I like the ooze. That's a good picture for ooze. You can put it on the ceiling that way too. Peshkali or Peshkal, stone golem, some little animals. You have an earth elemental, a skeleton, a smuggler. Another demon from between the stars. I like him better. Ratman, Smuggler, Toxifier, Flaming Skull. That's something that every game needs. So we have a bard on this one. Scout. You know what I didn't check? They've got to be the same on both sides. They're actually front and back, so that's kind of cool. Bard, Scout, Barbarian, Martial Artist. We have Rock Mites. I like the one who looks like he's getting ready to spit fire. We have a Jelly, which kind of looks like a wave of jelly. We have the half ogre, gnome, another half ogre, dwarf, and elf. More spiders, ooze, pits, trapdoor, spilled stuff on the floor if you want it to be. And then we have some fold-out maps. Fold-out maps are always awesome, right? So I'm going to zoom out a little bit because they're fold-out. These are hexagonal. Explains the hex bases. I'm going to guess they're 1-inch hex because that's pretty standard, right? So it's pretty big. This is maybe 18 inches wide, to give you an idea. Oh, why don't I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's more like 20 inches wide. And there's 3 on this panel here, and this is a dungeon with a large room. Some cool little soft etches of art on it. It is two-sided, so the different rooms connect from side to side and things of that nature. I hope they did it in a logical way so that when you go to put things together, you're not constantly flipping over where some of your party members are. And there's 2 of these. So you get this one, it's got this big room on it, and then you got a series of tunnel, caverny like things. I'm going to spin it around, nesting corridor. And then you've got this one huge room that's called the Ghoul Catacombs. And there's half the room. And then there's the other half, and it's labeled for combat. And then on the other side, it looks like you've got an arena. There's an altar in here apparently, because there's altar on the key. You got a hallway that runs here with a little like secret or roughed out etched thing that goes into what I call the arena. It looks like it's got barrels and stuff on it, rubble. Pillars, they're pillars. And here's the key to reading that map. So let me fold this map up. And then the books. So we have the Adventurer's book. Zoom out here a little bit. We'll flip through these. Now this is a fully ready to go. I mean, this is everything you need to play dungeon fantasy that's powered by GURPS. So it talks about the introduction of the books. You know, what you need to play, understanding the terms of the game, your basics, how to make your character basically. Goes through your secondary characteristics. It's got all the charts you need for lifting and, you know, your different things like how much can I lift, my encumbrance, bonuses to damage, things of that nature. Then you get into professions, which character classes basically. For those of you that are not familiar with Dungeon Fantasy but are familiar with other games, Druid, Holy Warrior. It's pretty much everything you need, and then the next chapter is your races, and they've got catfolk, dwarves, half-orcs, ogres, gnomes, elves, and then they use the advantage list, so you have different advantages, like you might be an animal friend, you get a bonus for interacting with animals, basically. And disadvantages, of course, if you're going to use the advantage system, you got to have some advantage or disadvantages to make your character not so much balanced, but to be a character and have some more personality rather than just a superhero, because the whole art of being a hero is that you struggle with something and have some kind of change in your life as the character while you're telling the story. So there's that, and then you get into skills. There's everything from first aid to heraldry to define your character. And the last couple of chapters, I believe, are probably going to be, look at that, cash and gear, which means buying your weapons, of course, your armor, the things that you need to go storm the dungeon and come out with lots and lots of treasure, right? And then they have some sample characters in the back of the Adventures book. That's the Adventures book. And then we have, what do I want to do next? Well, I guess we're going to go with the Exploits book. I'm guessing this is the GM's book, because the other books are lists of spells and things of that nature. So yes, this book is really for the GM or the person who's telling the story. And as you can see from the table of contents, it's everything from knowing how to roll dice to filling the dungeon with treasures. It has an appendix in the back. Well, let's just jump to the back. Like I said, this is my first look outside of seeing it on Kickstarter. So, starting on page 95, you have all the tables for melee attacks and everything are here to probably just about the rest of the book. You got maneuvers, your maneuver tables, hit location tables, critical hit tables, everything you need for your GM. Now, rolling dice, this is basically going to be about how to hit, what dice you need to hit, degrees of your failure, and your, the basics for a GM and how he can run combat, or what he needs to know for, skill tests, strength tests, tests of any other tests that the GM really wants, because the GM's a storyteller, and I think the blend between rules and storytelling are sometimes blended very well. So rolling dice is actually a pretty important chapter. It's only about 12 pages long, but then chapter 2 is dungeon delving. This is where you kind of start to work on your adventures. This is where you kind of create the cities and stuff, how to fill them out, what your characters can and can't do, or what basically. So talks about travel, getting there and back again, whether it's quick or not. What kind of it talks a little bit briefly here. Where is it? So it talks about downtime. A lot of players love downtime. Finding sponsors, that's an important part in this particular world here, apparently. Once the party has a quest, it may be possible to get more money by finding a backer. So they offer little hooks and lines and sinkers there for things, and then they talk about the dungeon delving. For some people, this is very basic. For me, it's like I've been role-playing for years. We kind of set our marching order as, we're playing the game. But this talks about it for newer, this is clearly for slightly newer GMs. And it gives you different things like curses and traps and lots of background information on how they work within the Dungeon Fantasy system that is powered by GURPS. Of course, you cannot role-play without understanding how combat works. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are probably role-playing games where there is no combat system. But if you're going to have combat, you're also going to have movement. As you can see, the rules cover the hex grid. And then I'm sure, okay, so this is melee attacks. Next is probably going to be special melee attacks. And then we're going to have ranged attacks. And it's going to, look, it even gives you arc of vision. So basically you can see out your front. This is pretty cool. I like it. I wonder if there's a template for it. If not, we should make one. And then the next chapter after fighting, which is a huge chapter, bad things. So, results from curses, results from poisons, being injured. It's always good when you have results from being injured. Some games, you're not crippled enough. Like, if you lose half your hit points in a game, you might be a little bit tired and beat up and not want to go on. But heroes, being heroes, don't always have that dilemma to face. So bad things. And then, of course, all that glitters is treasure. And this is how you break down the treasures for your encounters. It's, it's popular in town. It talks about antiquities and luxury items. There's not a lot of art in this book. I generally try and figure out my favorite pieces of art. But there's a lot of... They packed a lot of content into this. I really can't wait to do the written reviews. I might actually do written reviews on each one of these books rather than the whole box set. And then they have a game mastering section on running the adventure. And one of the most important things I think that I see they've actually addressed right here is pacing. You can run a game like it's a meat grinder and just go, and crank as fast as you can. Or you can have a lot of story time where players have to do a lot of investigative work is one of the best ways to say it. And then after you have all your tables and things, they have an example of play, nice. But after all your tables, you have the example of play, you have an index. An index, it's your friend, people. Use it. And of course they have an adventure planning form. That looks very familiar. Is this from... No, it's not the one I thought it was. Some good GM little tidbits here. It doesn't matter what game you're using them in. Was there a character sheet back here? Yep, there is. There's a character sheet. That's awesome sauce. Spells. So, it's not very often that you get a starter kit and you get a book of spells that is like 100 pages, 80 pages. So there's magic rituals, there's a spell table in the back, the spell book, and I'm going to guess that it's probably alphabetical order. Early on, the first part is going to be, obviously, which each one of these books so far has had an introduction, so there's going to be an introduction, but the first thing you have to do when you're looking at spells is understand how magic works. So First chapter is going to be about basically how you learn spells, how you cast spells, the effects, the different types of spells, bardic magic, clerical, magic user magic, whatever other types of magic are in the game, right? So you're going to learn all that in the first, I don't know, probably 15 to 20 pages, 14 pages, and then the spell book. So they break the spell book down. We're going to go back here and cheat. The spell book is actually broken down by the different types of spells, ranging from air spells to weather spells, water, sound, protection, and meta spells, all that. And that is the biggest chunk of the book. That's from page 14 to 67, 8, 9, 72. And we're not going to go through all those. I mean, that's a lot of spells to go through. And then it lists the spell tables in the back. And again, another little nice surprise is not a lot of starters give you a monster manual. This monster manual is about 50 pages. I lied. 63 pages. It has a complete index in the back. This is probably where we're going to find most of the art in the box set. Of course, you know, they're going to have a little introduction again, and then they're going to have, what is this about? So they have a little section on using the abilities, or how monsters react and what they do in combat and things of that nature. And this one is actually, it's interesting. I haven't read this yet, so this is from the Dungeon Delver's point of view as to what an adventurer kind of expects from monsters. And then this is the monster's point of view, which is really kind of neat. I haven't seen that approach taken before, so I really am going to come back and read this. And then you get into monsters' traits. Obviously, this is going to be like a list of your keywords and things that you're going to find throughout the book. I'm glad that they put it in the front. I wish there was a glossary too, because I'm going to tend to go to the back of the book to figure it out. And then, of course, you've got the bestiary, which is most of the book. It's like 15 to 63. And there's everything in here from, we're going to cheat again, go to the table of contents. Everything in here from being out of your element, acid spiders, bronze spiders, to demons, to air, flying beasts, giant snakes. I don't know why that's an air superiority. I'll have to take a look at that eventually. Metal machine monsters, horde zombies, jellies, of course, we saw the jellies in the little picture. Moldy monsters. Moldy monsters. Let's go to 43. Moldy monsters might coat any unliving stony creature. Cool. Not as many pictures as I was hoping for, but there you go. There's her again, the Pesk. I'll just call her Pesk. Peshkali. She's a Pesk. Stone Golem. And in the back, very, very back, there's, right after the index, you've got little reference cards you can print out and make record sheets. So, then there is, I smell a rat. I'm not going to flip through this too much detail because I'm pretty sure I know what this is. This is an adventure. Yep, setting the scene, chapter 1. So, this adventure, basically, it's a single level, made up of a dozen different interesting areas for new gamers to play so that they can get involved in delving. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not flipping through the dungeon at all. So, inside the wonderful starter for Dungeon Fantasy, you get 3 dice, all the little stands you need, all the books, The Adventure I Smell a Rat, Monsters, the spells, the exploits, the adventures, which is basically like a player's handbook. You get the creature card, standees, you get the maps, and hours of fun. This is probably one of the better starters I've ever seen. There's a lot of weight to this. I would be willing to say that this weighs 5 to 10 pounds fairly easily. So, thanks for watching, guys. This has been a box breaking with Matt Lemke from Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. Thanks, and have a great day.